Welcome back, everybody, to another fantastic episode of I'm Gonna Talk and You're Gonna Listen. And yeah, this is episode I don't know, and I have a couple topics. If you're looking for author topics, this probably isn't the. I'm probably not going to go over a lot of author-y stuff tonight, but oh well, we'll figure it out as we go. First of all, I've got a couple people to listen to this, so if you want to say hi or if you have any questions down in the chat, feel free to leave something, or don't. So housekeeping. I released my last AI animated book cover. Some of those did okay, some of them didn't. One of them did a little bit, whatever. I'm not doing those anymore. That was a good experiment. I had fun. Hashtag I tried. That's all I can really do. AI is not everybody's cup of tea, but also YouTube is only really serves up a certain kind of short, and it's toxic. It's like, yeah, you can pull 1.4 million views on your short. That's just stealing other. Anyway, who cares? It's the Big Based book sale right now. I'll remember to put that link down in the chat. That's where tons of books from some pretty good authors. 99 cents a piece on Kindle. He only does these I think twice a year. I've been participating in a bunch of them, and I don't get a ton of sales from him, but he's like one of the only people out there, ethers are, that seems to actually give a shit about anybody. So these whole fake ass writers lift things, there seem to be only really a handful of those that actually really care about anybody. So ethers are one of the legit ones. So if you are an author here and you're looking to spread out, check out Big Base Book Sale. And he's pretty approachable. He checks his messages several times a day, and I recommend you trying to reach out to him. Let me try to adjust my mic boom one more time. Every time I adjust this, it messes up. But we'll say, hold on, BRB. There we go. That's muy bueno. Okay, so Big Base Book Sale. Okay, Breath of Thunder, a game from Sungrand Studios. He's doing a Kickstarter, Breath of Thunder. It's doing pretty good. It's picked up a little bit of steam. There's still a chance to throw some money at Sungrand, at Jarrell. He's a proven developer. Check him out. Relive some of your Breath of Fire. Relive some of your old JRPG days. Relive back when Kickstarters actually produced stuff. I've helped a lot of Kickstarter games way back when, in the long ago, because I was trying to be a YouTuber gamer person, trying to make content that people loved and things, and I hated pretty much all the games at the time, and the only way for me to get the games that I wanted was for me to support the games that were being built and help them come to life. And I had a really good track record of supporting games that ended up getting made. So yeah, welcome here. So that's, I think that's all the housekeeping out of the way. Mocha's clawing me up pretty good. He wants a hug, I guess. Hey, buddy. So I've got three cats in my live studio audience as I stare out into the inky. Well, come on, if you're gonna jump up here, come on. Joop-a-doop. Joop-a-doop. I'm not picking you up. Come on. Okay, fine. Alright, well, I guess you're gonna have to listen to a cat purr into the mic for however long this lasts. Mocha, where were we? Was that all the housekeeping? So, I don't know. If I think of more housekeeping, I'll bring it up later. So, two topics, I think. I don't even remember the second topic. Oh, gardening. I want to talk about gardening stuff, but I want to talk about city stuff first. Let's get the nastiness out of the way. I usually, every couple episodes, I usually have an episode that's called What If I'm Wrong? Oh. Mocha's knocking around the mic, the boom mic stand thing after I got it. Perfect. Of course he is. What if I'm wrong? What if I was wrong is like a segment where I reassess my books and I reassess my forecasts, my what's the word? My speculation, where I review my speculation. So I'm surprised there hasn't been another big virus outbreak. I feel like, though, there has been something going around that's been knocking people out for about a week at a time for a couple months now. I've had more than 5 or 10 people talk about getting really sick with something that lasted about a week. They lose their voice, sickered and shit, throwing up, the whole 9 yards. So I'm wondering if there was a really nasty virus going around and it just wasn't viral enough, or maybe we're all just organically like split up enough now to where it can't knock us all out. To where it can't knock us all out. Goodness knows they've been trying to force us back into the office like crazy. And they keep trying to force us into big all hands meetings like crazy. And I mean to the point to where they go from cube to cube and tell you to come into the conference room that's packed full of people. Come into the all hands meetings that are packed, jam-packed full of people. Intentionally having everybody come in over and over and over. And that's after 3 years of them saying that there's an extinction level event that you need 6 boosters to protect yourself from. This is just the ludicrous hypocrisy of corpo culture. So, obviously, I think even before the Rona, most people didn't want to do that. I mean, before the Rona, I used to get sick as hell. Going into the office every day, exhausted, working like 12, 14-hour days, sometimes going home and working all night. I was exhausted and sick all the time, to the point to where like I would get up from my cube, throw up in the garbage can, and go sit back down and go back to work because we had deadlines and this just disgusting recirculated air that was like corpo culture. Like before the Rona was horrible, to the point to where they didn't even want to pay for us to have tissues anymore, and I would just sit at my cube with tissues shoved in my nose trying to work. And so I have no doubt if they had been able to force us back into the office enough, whatever this virus is or was that was going around, at least as of a week or two ago. Because I saw 2 more people that said they just got off of whatever it was. we probably all would have been knocked down by whatever it was, and they would have given it some scary word again, but that's not the hotness right now. So I don't bring this up very often. People go, I don't listen to the news, it's just propaganda. But the news tells you like the way the winds are blowing. And there's these weird interim between the big things where the news cycle can't quite land on something. It's like nobody's told them what the next big thing is. And I feel like we're in one of those lulls right now, where I don't know what all the code words are. I'm not monetized anyway, but you know, the various conflicts around the world. I don't think they're really selling eyeballs right now. They're certainly generating civil unrest, but we're in a weird interim period right now where there's kind of no virus. The conflicts are bad, but everybody's sick of them. There hasn't been any mass casualty events locally. And, you know, a ship wiped out a bridge. As is tradition, something wipes out something when nothing is going on. And sure, I was the first to jump on a landmine and say it was hackers. But here's the thing. I'm Gen X. My answer to everything is hackers. So that's a sword I will die on a hill, and a sword I will die on saying that everything's hackers. I don't care. I have no shame when it comes to that. Goodbye, Mocha Bear. Thanks for hanging out. I appreciate you. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't. I think it came out where they'd been having engine trouble for days, and some ding dong decided it was time to go. Probably someone snap, snap, chop, chop, go, go. So yeah. It kind of seems like I'm meandering around, but the point is that like I didn't really have anything forecasted to happen right now besides like virus stuff. I think that's what I'm trying to say. I pride myself on being pretty accurate with my speculations, but yeah, the virus thing, I think. But here's the thing: I'm perfectly happy to be wrong about that. Like, I've been telling everybody to not go back to the office. Like, so maybe I saved some people. I don't know. Maybe enough people heard me, or enough people felt it through the ether that they were like, let's try to space distance out, and I don't know. Or maybe enough people just started staying home when they didn't feel good, which is what we should have all been doing all along. Before the Rona happened, I used to tell people how hilarious it would be if every time somebody got sick at work, if they genetically traced it back to whichever asshole that brought it there, and then like sued them for like the back pay of all the sick time from everybody, and misery and pain and suffering. But the reality is everyone's got kids and they're all booger eaters, and everyone's going to get sick. I get that. But like, it was funny that the Rona happened, and then all of a sudden they wanted to contact trace everybody and put contact tracing on everybody's phones, when we've been probably losing billions and trillions of dollars in productivity losses from people tracking viruses around everywhere and flying on planes when they're sick and whatever. It's all hypocrisy. So So I think I felt like we would have defeated the return to office by now. And we're kind of there. However, what I didn't anticipate is the cities to double down and try to force us into the office even harder. I thought that they were going to gain some traction, because here's usually what corpo culture does. They gain some traction, they run a bunch of metrics and they run a bunch of models. They see how many people complied, and then they ratchet it up. They tighten the screws a tiny bit more, until they get desirable. Then they let everybody rest, and then they ratchet the screws up. But I think so many people said F you to going back into the office that they're just like, what do they do, right? How do they assert their dominance? So usually they double down and they call everybody back and say, well, fine, if you guys aren't going to take our olive branch of coming back this many days, you've got to come back even more. You know, they're going to try to double down, right? Tighten that grip. But as the great philosopher says, the more you tighten your grip, the more they're going to slip through your grasp. Some great philosopher said that. So yeah, they're going to try to double down, and the reason why is so much commercial real estate has left the city, and more leases are coming up. And as we get to election time, that scares them more and more leases. A lot of these cities don't have people living in them. It's a mind F, but when you look at like residential density, a lot of these cities don't have residential density. They all live on the outskirts. They live in the suburbs, right? They don't actually have to go into the city for anything except for work. So all these second order effects and third order effects of needing groceries in the city, needing restaurants in the city, and coffee and books and all the other stupid ass things that nobody actually needs. It's just centralized for convenience in the city. Nobody actually lives there. So the more commercial real estate crashes, the more this doom loop progresses. And it is right at the edge. The cities are right at the edge of total collapse. And now they're saying, well, it's going to look very different by the end of the year. So we just need to, even like the lefty loos on the news are all like, we need to take our city back. We need to take our city back. But they don't mean clean up the crime and clean up the streets. They mean they want everybody to come back to work. And then at the end, the person said, like, we need everybody to come back to the office now. They're openly saying this on the news. They have been for months, but now these are just on just normal newscasts. They're like, we need everyone to come back to the office. And they also said, I forgot the number, 70%, 80% of the buildings are pre-earthquake codes. So if they change them from commercial to residential, they'll have to all meet earthquake codes, and 70% of the buildings or something like that don't meet the codes. Which means the buildings will just be condemned. Like, imagine 70% of the buildings in your city being condemned. And you can look at the years that they were built and you can see if they're up to earthquake codes. And, some of them are, some of them aren't. So you're talking about a lot of condemned buildings. Literally condemned. They're going to be slums. Because the homeless aren't going to leave. Well, or they might. I mean, that depends on a lot. I don't think the homeless are going to leave until the food runs out. So, unless their fentanyl supply gets cut off. So, what's that mean then? More and more leases are coming up every day. You can watch the news every night, and there's 2 or 3 places that got broken into every day. And every time that happens, even if like very little gets stolen, just the damages alone are like 15 grand to like repair those storefronts. Some of these places, record shops, game stores, they get, tens of thousands of stuff stolen. They're not coming back. And the REI moved way out there, and so what's that do? That takes even more people that are working there and moves them far away or lays them off. And then so what happens? So the people that go down there have nothing to shop for anymore. And if you don't have anything to go down in there to shop for, and you don't have anything to go down there to work for, you just end up with a big dead city. This is how you get there. I've been talking about this for a long time now. This is how you get a dead city. They defunded the police. The DA doesn't allow anyone to defend themselves. There's homeless running around with hatchets and knives and batons and everything in between. There's like 1 or 2 stabbings and shootings and vehicular deaths like per day. They're trying to bring like a riot squad back, but it's only going to be like 2 squads, like 24 guys. That's you can't even hold a corner of 1 block with 24 guys. With how big those mobs get, 24 people wouldn't last 10 minutes. Not even 10 minutes. They'll get creamed. And 10 minutes in a mob feels like an eternity. So what are they gonna do? That's two riot cop vans full of cops. What are they gonna do? Why would you even? That's nothing. You need like 400. And you can maybe hold. You need about 100 cops to 125 cops to hold 1 block. Barely. And so if you need to do some kind of pincer move, you need a 2nd squad of cops, and then you need a 3rd squad to process it. Like, this is, I don't know what the cities are doing. I just don't. It's like they forgot. And who knows? Maybe somebody had a secret van ride with the handlers and said, don't riot or protest anymore. But these people riot whether the left or the right wins. They riot either way. They riot for protest and which turn into riots, because protests are just testing the waters for riots. They're just, yeah. So I don't know what the cops are doing. I don't know what, but this is all stuff that I forecasted. This is all stuff that's in my books. So that's part of the problem. I think we're well on track for the cities to be dead, absolutely dead, by election time. And then post-election, the cities are just going to be a wasteland. I don't think the commies went anywhere. I think they're just laying low. There ain't no jobs, because the job thing is a lie. I don't know if they're waiting for some kind of universal basic income or what they're waiting for. But they've been stealing and selling the things that they sell this whole time. That's how they're making just metric shit tons of money. There's pretty much any car you could ever want to steal in the city. So they don't pay for tabs, they don't pay for taxes, they don't pay insurance. You know, so they've been able to save their money, but the DA's not going to prosecute. I don't know what they're doing. I think they're just kind of testing the waters, getting their feelers out. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. But I've seen these protests. I've seen 800 pissed off people running around smashing everything firsthand. And everyone complains about the police, and they complain about conservatives standing up against them, but you realize that you don't have enough defensive tools on the planet to stop that many people, not without a well-trained group of your own. I mean, I talk about these Purge movies a lot. Those Purge movies have nothing on what it's like in real life. You have no idea without a well-armed, well-practiced, well-trained group. And they're federally and locally trying to ban training as a group. Well, guess who trains as a group all the time? The other side. So, yeah, I don't know. Just, I think everything is on track. The only question is, whatever is going to happen just hasn't triggered them yet. For them to really kick off, something has to really trigger them. Either the Zimmerman thing, the Floyd thing. Something crazy, and then they'll go. And this whole thing in Rebel Land has got them triggered, but not quite enough. Something's going to do it. Someone's going to screw something up, or someone's going to be in a compromised situation. And I can't help but wonder. I mean, there's just so much race baiting going on. And if you're familiar with the knockout games or whatever, in New York, it's a big thing right now. There's videos of women just getting full haymakered right in the face. They used to be able to suppress this a lot. But with Musk taking over Twitter, race baiting and hate baiting have gone through the roof. And it's partially to sow division. And partially just engagement baiting and hate rage race baiting. But this has been going on for a really long time. It just hasn't gotten any traction getting shared and going viral. And everybody, well, not everybody, everybody in air quotes, meaning the influencers, are all jumping on this, and these gals are just getting clobbered in the streets all the time for no reason. It's very, very popular thing a certain ethnicity does to another certain ethnicity, a couple other ethnicities, and it's race baiting, right? But it's like there's so much like manipulation and friction between the races. Like the one of the think tanks just must want a race war really, really, really bad, and has created they create an atmosphere, hashtag free penny. They create this atmosphere, and everyone's got cameras, everyone records everything. Something stupid's going to happen, and that's just gonna pop it. I don't know what it's gonna be. I don't know what's gonna be, but something's gonna happen. Something always does, and these people are gonna come out of the woodwork because they love to destroy everything. They're the commies, useful idiots. So I wish I was wrong. I wish everyone would decide to just be functioning members of society. But this is why I call this like, what if I'm wrong? It's like our economy is toast. Like, they want the Fed to lower interest rates so much, but we're borrowing so much that the Fed can't, and it'll crash T-bills. Vehicles are still unaffordable. We'll see how they are after everyone gets their refunded stolen money check that they get every year. But we'll see if the car values crash. I don't think they'll crash enough for anyone to be able to afford one, but saying people are living paycheck to paycheck now is like an understatement. Like, we're past that. Groceries have gone up even more. Gas has gone up even more. Petrol for those of you that aren't around here. Food is stupid expensive. And there was a YouTuber, I can't remember who it was, but they were showing like the bottle shapes, and the bottle shapes are getting like smaller and smaller and thinner, and the cavity up through the bottom is getting like higher and higher. And it's mind-blowing. Like, until you see all the bottles side by side and check the fluid ounces or check the serving sizes or whatever, oh, it's just nuts. So you've got all this, coming around the mountain, and all the inherent like logistics issues. And I would say this segues into part 2, which is gardening, but I want to keep going. We'll get to gardening later. Everybody now, they're not living paycheck to paycheck. They're at the point now. I can't remember if it was like Rand Paul or who it was. They said this a while ago. They were like, people are getting to the point where they're deciding which bills to pay and not pay. And that's why we're over $1 trillion in debt and credit cards. And I legitimately think the only way out of this, which by design, is to go to FedCoin. I think they're going to have to, because we're going in billions and billions into debt every day. I don't even know what the debt clock is now, but it's crazy. I think as a country, we're like only really able to pay off like the absolutely, what is it, SSI, Medicare, Medicaid. Like, everything else is insolvent, or like we're borrowing money to pay everything else. So it's all borrowed. I don't even know if we're paying off. I haven't looked at it. Paying off the interest. Something like that. Like we're really close at the rate that we're borrowing and sending money to UKR and the other place, the Stardew Valley. I'm sure that we're very close to the point to where there's no way we can even pay back interest, and we will just be in a debt spiral. And I think they'll have to do FedCoin because there won't be a way for them to reset the currency, and we'll just go into hyperinflation, because people need interest rates to go down so they can borrow again and get houses again and get cars again. That's how you move the economy. People are buying dumb shit like TVs and monitors and things like. It's funny, like prices are going up on everything except for like TVs and monitors and stuff. You can get amazing gaming monitors now for like nothing. It's stupid. I couldn't believe it when my friend told me. And it's like the only thing that's going down, but I think it's because like nobody can afford them. Everyone's buying food. There's probably just warehouses of monitors and TVs, and they're probably like, do we even release another version of these? Do we even release model upgrades? Like, I don't know. It's the same thing with cars. Like, there's just lots with thousands and thousands of cars, but they're sitting on them because they know it's just going to drive prices down. But they're all max trims, like nobody can afford them. And I don't know. I don't think it's going to land us in like a hard CW. But I think, and shame on me for not paying more attention to what's going on locally, but it's going to be a lot more local stuff. I think I've said this in a prior video. Locally, there is a food trading thing where people bring their extra food and they bring it in so it can get redistributed voluntarily. Because some of the people here, I'm sure, are doing amazing because they bought in when houses were a fifth of what they are now with no interest, and I'm sure other people here are just upside down and withering on the vine, but there ain't no jobs anywhere. So I think that's where we're headed. But here's the problem: like, they're gonna repo everybody's houses, they're gonna repo everybody's cars. I watched a YouTube video where like the repo cars were just like destroyed, and even the people there that ran like used car dealerships, they're buying repos and trying to repair them. They weren't even like offering anything for the cars. They weren't even going for the starting bids at this auction. I'm like, that's brutal. I'm sure if you wanted to go to an auction right now, you could buy a repo car for almost nothing. You might have to do some stuff to it, but I don't know where any of those are. And I do, but I don't want to deal with that. That's a whole other story. Yeah. So I still don't think I'm wrong. I still think everything that I think is going to happen is on track. And I think I understand now how we're going to get to the grid problems that we're getting to. There's a lot of people that are coming here the opposite of legally. And I think through the fridges that they're going to be running, the TVs that they're going to be watching, the heating and cooling that they're going to be running. I think slowly but surely they're going to crash our grid just through pure usage of how many of them are moving here. I don't have any hard numbers or special information or anything. But I've been thinking about that a lot because of New York. Like, their sewers can't handle it. And I'm pretty sure New York's grid's going to start going down. I don't know how much I don't have any special info. I'm just thinking of sheer numbers. Like, you just can't keep adding people exponentially to the grid forever. And that's essentially what we're having to do. The US people are coming over, and it's more stuff that you have to refrigerate, you know? It's more water that you have to get hot for hot showers. You know, it's more water that you have to sanitize for everybody to drink. And I'm just like, well, if you then you throw in somebody being a cyber douche and taking down some of the grid with cyber or whatever, like, I mean, it's just a recipe for the grid to go down. That's why I keep saying everyone's got to get batteries and solar. Get batteries and solar. Even if you get like a little 10-watt panel to charge your phone, you can get a little fan. The little fan could have a little battery in it, and you could run your little fan and then sometimes charge your phone off of just a 10-watt solar panel. And if you have a bunch of kids and a wife or a husband or whatever you have, whatever you roll with, you know, when you see some 10-watt panels on sale, get a 10-watt panel for each family member. And if you think a couple other people might bug out, get a 10-watt panel for every single one of them. And get some little sucker cups with some little hooks in them. And everybody could have their panel hooked up to, if you have shitty windows, like I do, these things get amazing solar through them. And your solar is safe and nobody can grab it. And it blocks out the sun and the heat and stuff in the summer. And you can have charged phones and charged fans and save on a bunch of electricity. You know, I don't know about your guys' phones, but my phone's maybe 4 years old. This thing's battery is going downhill fast. And so I have been charging this phone multiple times a day. And you can get a long USB-C cable and run the cable from the panel to the window over to your phone, and your phone could just be charging off solar for free all day. And then when your phone's not charging, because you got to take it in the other room, plug the fan in, and it can charge your fan. And, you know, you're going to have 12, 14 hours of sun. You know, you can charge a couple things for free. It's better than nothing. Just think about things like that. Like, start with solar, you know, start slow. You can start with teeny tiny 10-watt panels and then work your way up to a couple 50-watt panels, and then get like a link cable that can split the power safely, and then you maybe work up to a 100-watt panel and get a couple 100-watt panels until you're up to 400 watts, and get your batteries up slow. You know, start with a couple 10,000 milliamp hour, 20,000 milliamp hour. Don't get the cheap ones, because they will lie. Those things are like at half capacity. There's a really good YouTuber, can't remember his name right now, but he tested 10 or 20 batteries or something like that, and over half of them were like at half capacity that they're rated at. So don't get cheap batteries, but get some 10,000s, get some 20,000s, and then start working on, you know, getting a couple 100-watt batteries, a couple 200, 4, 5, 6, you know, whatever you can carry, until you can get like some 1,000-watt, 2,000, 3,000-watt. Get ones that link together so you can keep scaling and wait for sales, save up your money, enter some giveaways. Every YouTuber's got giveaways for like every battery, because they've got batteries coming out their ears. and just don't give up. You know, we could be energy independent if we had microgrids in every subdivision. And there's some federal programs for microgrids, but they're just not out there yet. There was another one I was watching where they have like these so apparently sand, well, not apparently, obviously sand handles heat really well, and so they've made these like sand pits to like transfer heat around, retain the heat so the solar warms the sand up. I know sand gets in everything, but it heats the sand up, and then you can run the water through the sand. And then there's these special hot water tanks, and so you can have basically infinite hot water for free. Just insane. It didn't seem that expensive either. It just looked like it took up a lot of space. So, I mean, you know, cost is relative, but the thing is, like, if your house is paid off and you have a decent income, you could take out a loan on your house and get some power upgrades, get at least partially off the grid. It doesn't take a lot to run your main appliances. Anywho, I don't think I'm wrong. I just don't know what the catalyst is gonna be. It's gonna be something stupid. Some poor person is gonna get hurt, and it's gonna just trigger the shit out of everybody. I don't think this I don't think what's going on in Rubbleville, even with as bad as the optics are over there, what Stardew Valley is overdoing to Rubbleville, as horrible as those optics are, it's not triggering everybody enough to do everything. So I'm sure the think tanks are trying to figure something out. They're like, race baiting is not working. Basically, World War III is not working. We can't get everybody into a hard CW because football's still going. Whatever stupid ass sport people watch now that distracts them. So I'm sure the think tanks are really frustrated, and they're probably working on something. The virus didn't work. So I don't know. Grid down. Just plan on grid down. Plan on making as much of your own food as you can and having your own independent water. Because for those of us who don't want to do FedCoin, don't want to take the mark or whatever, food is going to be currency. Food and fuel are going to be the currency. So that's a good segue to our sponsor, Raycon Raid Shadow Legends shaving service. When you need to play Raid Shadow Raycon, oh wait, what was the other one? Audible. When you need to listen to your Audible playing Raycon Shadow Legends, make sure to shave your balls with the new Balls Shaver 5000. Now with 50% more charging capacity, so you can charge your Raycons and play Raid Shadow Legends. And we'll be back after this commercial break to talk about gardening. Well, welcome back for part 2. If you made it this far, congratulations, you're part of the resistance. So gardening is interesting. A reliable supporter of the show said the other day, a quote that I'll remember for a while, said, "You're not going to learn gardening from a book." And I'm like, That is so true. And in bunker codes, I don't have any gardening in there. Because I believe in the bunker codes, I was like really honest about what I did and didn't know. And my wife and I never had the space or the funds to really go ham on gardening. We tried, but just things, we've had it really, really rough. So this was a really long winter, and we know everything's getting bad, and we have this couple acres, and this was on the plan. This is part of the plan to offset, you know, it's not going to be income generation, but you know, it'll be an income offset. Wait, whatever, you know what I mean. So I started like in November or December or something. I just like, I'm gonna start something. We had some like seeds that we had saved from other things, and we had tried that, and almost none of it took to seed. All of my stuff screwed up. Like one of her things took to seed, and I tried to transplant it into a bigger pot, immediately killed it. I should have taken better notes of all the stuff that I learned, but essentially it goes something like this. Like, when you're trying, whether you're trying to transplant teeny tiny stuff, or even moderately sized stuff, or you're trying to start sproutlings from seeds, the kind of dirt you use is really important. You cannot just use any old dirt. You can't just dig up dirt from the ground. It doesn't work. It's not going to have like a lot of really easily, readily available nutrients. It's just material. It's just half dead, if you're really lucky, not completely dead earth, right? And if it's been pouring down rain, it's really useless. Like, you can't grow things in it. If you've been like what I was doing, like saving all of my potting soil and my cactus soil, and I've been saving all these things, you know, it had just grown so much bacteria that it was just killing all the seedlings and sproutlings and stuff. And I wasn't washing my hands, and I was handling the little sproutlings as they were trying to grow. And apparently in some cases there's just like anything on your skin, even the oil, can apparently have enough in it to like kill these things when they're just starting out. So all the seeds of everything we had saved got wiped out. So then round 2, I'm like, all right. The deer had been wiping everything out. Most of you know that by now. Oh, by the way, for coffee supporters, if you're listening to this and haven't checked, there's a new homestead video for the coffee supporters. There you go. So I'm like, the deer wiped us out, and you know, later I found out that something tinier chewed the hell out of everything and almost killed every tree out there also. So the deer and the elk almost killed everything, and something small came and almost killed everything too. So I'm like, what about rhubarb? You know, strawberries and rhubarb, 2 things that just get massive, and I'm like, hopefully that'll offset everything. So I'm like, I'm gonna just try rhubarb over and over and over and over and over. And I finally figured it out. You know, and I got rhubarb to sprout from seedlings, from seeds. Now, I can't get any of this rhubarb to get very big. But, well, if you've seen my homestead video, like, some of them grow faster than others. Some of them just kind of stay teeny tiny, and some of them get kind of bigger. And kind of flump over and don't really know what to do. And part of it's because, well, we had a bunch of 75, we had 4 75-degree days, and now it's back to 50 and mega overcast. So these plants really don't know what to do. Ideally, you'd have a greenhouse and you'd have some really strong full spectrum lights up really high, so you could really spread these out and really, you know, blast them for a good, 12, 14 hours or something like that and get them really huge. But that's just not practical on a budget and a small house. So the fact that these things are living at all is pretty cool. Just stuck in the window and squirt them every day or two. And they're pretty hardy. So I started with those and I kind of got it down. I was setting them on my computer for about 8 days. And by the 8th or 9th day, there would be a little green thing poking up. Blink, hello. What's crack-a-lackin'? And I quickly realized with rhubarb that you really need dirt almost all the way up to the top, because they kind of have like 2 little fake kind of starter leaves, and you kind of need those to get up so they can grab onto something, kind of like, you know, a little monster kind of gets its 2 arms out and it kind of holds on to it, and it's like, okay, here I am. And then from there, like, the real leaves start popping out now that it's reached out and grabbed onto things and figured out what's going on. If it can't get to that, it kind of just makes it long and spindly, and it's like trapped, and it can't figure out why it's trapped, and it gets confused. And then it sort of just can't figure out what to do with its life. Apparently peppers do this too. Wait, is it peppers? Apparently peppers do this too, and if you don't kind of get them sort of going straight up and getting light into them, they just make one kind of long spindly thing and then get confused and give up. I don't think they die, but they'll just stay as a long spindle and I think forget what they were doing and then just stay that forever. And rhubarb does that too. So what I was doing is, when I noticed they were getting spindly, I just kept putting more and more and more dirt as they kept getting spindlier, and I mounded the dirt up. They got spindly, mound, till eventually they poked their head out from the containers I had them in, and they're like, "Oh, hey, okay, now I know what's going on," and they put their little arms out, and then they start growing. So that's that. There seems to be like 2 kinds of plants. Things that really need the warmth and things that really don't. So it turns out like the rhubarb didn't really need to get warm, but, well, maybe it did. And so what I would do is I would do like 2 rhubarb at a time, and once they popped out, I would set them aside, and I would do 2 more rhubarb. And once they popped out, I would set aside. I just kept doing that over and over and over again. And that's kind of the same thing with cucumbers. And transplanting cucumbers, those things go into shock over and over, and then they die, and it is so frustrating. So I plant cucumbers into big pots right away. I tried all different sizes with the rhubarb, and they don't seem to care if they're in a small one or a big one, as long as the dirt's up to the top. And the cucumbers don't seem to care, because those things are tough, But if you transplant them, they go into shock and croak. But they'll go like straight up. The watermelons go like straight up. The gosh darn it, why am I forgetting? Why Kale? Kale is kind of like half and half. Sometimes it'll go straight up, and sometimes it gets spindly. I think they'll get spindly if they get confused about what light source to go to. I accidentally left one of the LEDs on, and so the kale decided to go on an adventure and like reached across everything else to go to the next light source, like in one night. And I'm like, kale, calm down. These little seeds have insane amounts of energy. So I've got a bunch of cucumbers going. I've got a bunch. Oh, my wife's got a bunch of watermelon going. Rhubarb. Corn. Corn seems pretty bulletproof. I started those small, and then I just transplant them, and they transplant just fine. The peas, those croaked. They were doing so good. So good, and then both of them just died. And I have no idea why, and I can't find anything online about why the peas would just suddenly die. I was watering them the same as everything else, so I don't know if they're just less water tolerant or what. Almost everything else is just kind of puttering along. Strawberries from seeds just seem impossible. I don't get that at all. I don't understand what is wrong with the damn strawberries at all. And it's one of the things I've been trying the longest, so they should have been huge by now. Even with heating mats, the strawberries aren't doing anything. I tried freezing them, nothing. It was just freaking ridiculous. I'm about ready to just throw out all my strawberries. Seeds. Because it's just wasting space at this point. I've got a bunch more corn going. And then some other stuff, just like random peppers and things. But the problem with peppers, like, peppers will not, under any circumstances, grow without a heating mat. They won't go to seed without a heating mat. So I kind of reorganized everything, and they're kind of sitting on my computer now. I don't know if that's going to be enough, but I'm like, hey, I've got empty computer space. I can put the peppers on there. But these trays, like, some of the edges of the trays collect water, and so I don't think anything on the edges of the trays are going to grow, because the water was like turning the edges into like mud. So like the corners, either that or the corners are like soaking up water from below. I don't know what to do about that. But some of these seeds will grow in like soaking wet water or like wet paper towels. And that's what I was originally trying to do with the rhubarb, is I was soaking the rhubarb in paper towels, and then I was putting them in, and then I was just killing them. I think my fingers touching that first sprout, like that first little rooty sprouty thing, my fingers touching that was killing it. You gotta use tweezers. So I didn't know that. And then, yeah, you gotta put them in really special dirt. I wasted a whole entire rhubarb packet before I figured. I don't know. And then I read these things, and they're like, you just put it into really wet dirt. I'm like, holy shit. Anyway. So I've kind of come into like a 2-stage process. Except with cucumbers. Cucumbers, I'm just putting them in big pots in their stand. Those things are way too fragile. Everything else is letting me transplant it though, but you have to let the sprouts get up to where they're almost to the light, and then you've got to transplant them. And that can happen like well within 2 weeks. So if you do a bunch of like 24 or 36 trays, that could take up like tables and tables and tables worth of sprouts if you have to move them to something bigger. So I think that's why like so many grower YouTube channels tell you like start these just before the end of the last frost so they'll be done after your last frost. I think that's why they all say that, because with just a couple, so if you buy like a decent sized heating pad, you can put like 2, what are they, 36 or 48 size trays on one, and then a couple of, you know, like 18s or 24s, like by putting them the other way. That's enough to fill, as soon as you have to put those in the next size pot up, multiple tables and all your windowsills. So if you don't have a big greenhouse, just one batch of stuff for like one part of your garden will take up just so much space. And then, but by putting all that out into the garden, that's only like half your garden. And then so you're getting a late start on stuff. So some of the YouTubers are talking about how you can bring your, oh, what was it? Was it your peppers? Ah, oh, damn it. Was it peppers? I can't remember, but there's some plants where they just chop them up and put them in the garage. So they're just like the root balls and a couple of pieces of stock. And then you could just sort of store them that way. Potatoes and onions, you just leave them in the ground if you can't harvest them all. And there were several other fruits like that. Or not fruits, vegetables. Is it carrots? There was like quite a few where you could just leave them in the ground once you get them going. I really want to try to do carrots. Like, those are really interesting to me. But again, like, it really does come down to space. It's also interesting once you do the math on like how many calories. So we have totes. If you watch my homestead video on my coffee page, you can see like how many totes I've done. And I think each one of those totes is going to be maybe a couple days worth of food, I think, for 2 people. And it's like, well, you know, a summer lasts way longer than that, and a winter lasts way longer. I'm like, yeah, I know. But if this pays for even a couple months worth of groceries, I think, besides protein, like, it's going to way more than pay for itself. And if we can turn, and so what I try to do is like get enough of the materials together so we can make salsa, you know, and get enough of the materials together so we can make cucumbers. And then I want to get a lot of strawberry rhubarb so I can make strawberry rhubarb jam. But I've heard it takes 2 years before rhubarb produce. So I'm kind of scared about that. I don't think I'll get rhubarb this year unless we go to check a plant nursery out, and you know, maybe the plant nursery will hook us up. That's all I can really hope for. Otherwise, I don't think these rhubarb will be ready for until next year. I'm gonna try to like really fertilize the heck out of everything, and see if I can get stuff to really like boom. But I've kind of been fertilizing the trees that I thought weren't gonna make it instead of like fertilizing the trees that I want to do really well. And I think Saturday the weather's supposed to turn for the better, and I'm gonna go out there and really spend some time fertilizing everything. Now that I've protected almost all of it, with the pruning spray. There's a little bit more pruning spraying I need to do. Plastic shells and stuff that I'm gonna fertilize. Hey, little buddy. Hi. Oh, really? Okay. I'm gonna really fertilize those trees. I'm gonna fertilize the blueberries. See if I can get like some serious production out of all of them. And then try to figure out like planting my blueberries. Oh, so back to my potting my stuff when they get up to the light and I need to repot them. What I've been doing, instead of doing like wetting these people, like you gotta wet your dirt ball and it's gotta be wet enough to where you can clump it up. And oh my gosh, I don't do that. I just get a squirt bottle and I have Dixie cups, like from the dollar store, and I put some of my transplanting potting soil dirt in there that I get from the store, so make sure it doesn't have any bacteria or anything that's gonna hurt them. And then I squirt into the cup after I fill it up with dirt into the middle, and then I have kind of these cone-shaped tools, and I sort of cone out the shape that I need, and then I squirt that full of water so it holds the shape. And then I sprinkle in some of this powder into them that when it touches the roots, it makes the roots even better. And if anybody's listening this far, throw a comment down below and I'll respond to you with the powdery stuff that I use. One of these days I should actually just make an affiliate Amazon page to share the things that I use, the things that aren't China copy. But yeah, this stuff is like little roots, and they attach to the other roots, and they make the root balls huge. Anyway, so I sprinkle some of that into the wet, moist hole that I made in the dirt, and then I use kind of these plasticky, tweezery, fork-looking tools that I got, and I kind of squeeze the tray a little bit around, try to squeeze the dirt in a little bit. And then I try to get around the roots with a little forky tool and pull it up, and then I plop it in that wet, moist hole that I made in the dirt. And then it touches the roots are going to touch the little sprinkles and make nice big root balls. And help the plants get more nutrients and get them bigger and stronger and faster, longer, harder. Makes them stronger. And I hadn't really seen them do anything until the zucchini hit them. The zucchini hit that powder and went nuts. And the roots sprung out of all of the zucchini trays into all of the other trays around it, came out of the dirt and went into all the other trays. Like right away. One of them came out like within a day or so, and I thought the seed had messed up. But it was like, no, it was like straight up just an entire ball of roots. An entire ball of roots shot out of the dirt. And then just started going into the other trays. I'm like, oh shit. I covered it up with dirt, trying to stop it because I couldn't process what was happening. And then within a day or two, all of the other zucchini plants had all shot all these roots into all the other trays around it. I've been doing this for months now, and I've never seen anything do that. I was just like, oh my gosh. I feel like I'm messing with messing with something, that science experiment that could get out of control. But I heard that this stuff like could work on trees. So in the 2 trees that my brother helped me put in, like I sprinkled some of this stuff in there. I feel like I should have sprinkled a lot more. But even just, I'm sprinkling like at the tiniest bit into each one of these, and they're just turning into these huge roots going everywhere. And so half of my stuff, like, it took forever. It took 2 or 3 weeks for me to get this bag of stuff, and it was like the last bag. And I wish I'd been using this on everything, but it's fun. It doesn't save something. If something's going to go into shock, it doesn't save it, which is kind of a bummer. And sugar, if something's going into shock, sugar water doesn't save it either. But I didn't take a picture of this that I should have, but one of my rhubarbs, I hit it with just a bunch of sugar water to see what was going to happen. And it like turned the dirt to sugar. I'm like, oh, that's not good. So I just like soaked it in water over and over and over until all the sugar went down. But the dirt looked like a sugar crust for like 3 days. I'm like, that's not good. I don't know why only the rhubarb did that, but yeah, the two cucumbers didn't make it, the one into shock. So I thought that was funny. But there's these YouTubers that are like, you need to soak the roots in sugar water when you transplant them. No, I don't think so. Maybe if you get the right consistency, but it's been my experience that like don't fiddle with the roots at all. Like, they are just not hanging on, like, from saplings, seedlings, sproutlings. They're just not all connected really well. So even from the dirt, like, you don't want to pull the sapling, sproutling up. It'll just separate from the roots because they're just not attached that well. Like, you've got to be so gentle. So I wouldn't try to swish one of those around in water because the stem is really weak. You haven't weatherized it with a fan yet. I don't get that. I don't understand that at all. So that's what I do. That powdery stuff is wild though. I don't necessarily know how it goes and finds the roots, or if the roots have to find it, or if they meet in the middle, or if they have ways of finding each other, or if what is it, some kind of parasite? No, it's not a parasite. Kind of. I wonder if the water hits it and it grows, and then it goes and finds it. I don't know. I got to read up on it more. I don't know how it finds the roots, or if the roots find it. But I sprinkle it. I sprinkle them in after I get like the little wet. I don't know what to call it. Yep, I set it all in there, and if the stem is too spindly, I was like sprinkling more and then putting more dirt to kind of support it over and over and over and over. Because I still don't understand this, but like some plants just keep growing more roots from the stem over and over and over and over until they get like super buff. Apparently, it's tomatoes. I think tomatoes are one of the ones that does it. So you can just dome up around a tomato, I think, and it'll just keep getting strong. I think it's tomatoes. I can't remember if peppers do that or not either. So the point is, and this isn't even getting into companion gardens, like there's no way that you could write. I mean, there are books about this obviously, but there's just no way you could write a book about this. Like, every plant, to learn every plant end to end is like 3 10-minute long videos. And then you realize there's 2 different types of tomatoes. There's tomatoes that just stop, and there's tomatoes that'll grow forever. It's just like, there's just no way to learn at all. You kind of roughly learn enough. And then that's not even getting into like all the different crushed shells you're supposed to have, and you don't want to splash water that splashes the dirt on your tomatoes that has the bacteria, and oh my gosh. Then you gotta, you know, get wormies for your dirt. Just the crazy amounts of fertilizer that people do, like properly growing plants, properly growing food plants is insane. Insane. And so you always hear this like, oh, if you think you're just gonna go grow food, you're not. And I said that too. I'm like, you're not. I had no idea how hard it is. How many ways you can F up trying to grow something from seeds. And that's implying that your seeds are even good. There's a lot of seeds on Amazon that are a scam. I can't find strawberry seeds anywhere. Amazon was the only place I could get it, and I've been through 2 bags of these strawberries and they're not doing shit. So, and I got what looked like the right ones. So, wow. I saw some pepper ones where these people were getting like banana peppers, and they were supposed to be a completely different variety. Multiple people were getting banana peppers from just a total scam. And unfortunately, unless you start early like me and have a greenhouse, which I don't, but unless you start early like me, you don't know if you're getting a bad batch of seeds. You could completely lose your early start if you have like a truncated growing season. I don't know. I don't know either what I'm going to do with these rhubarb. I wonder if I'm going to just put them in the backyard and let them get bigger, or I can protect them. Or maybe I'll put them in the deer-proof fortress or something until I can go plant them for real. But even when I plant them for real, I'm gonna have to put something around them. I'm gonna try to just plant so many rhubarb that like the deer and critters like cannot eat them all. And I'm gonna try to do the same thing with strawberries. I want to have wild strawberries running through the whole field. And then I want to get some kind of medium-sized strawberries that multiply a lot. So they can be like, I want to do grapes too. I want to have enough like critter-proof food that there's no way these damn things can wipe me out. Yeah, so that's the plan. I think I'm gonna get there too. Like, I think that this is gonna get me there, and then I'll have more. I mean, and if the critters don't come and try to wipe it all out, then I'll have enough strawberry rhubarb jam to last till the friggin' end of days. And jam and jelly is insanely expensive now. Like, that's what doubled or tripled in price. So anyway, I'm rambling. Most of you probably don't care. I mean, if anyone has sat through this gardening section, then congrats. I'm really proud of how far my wife and I have got with this, and I am I am very confident that we will be able to make enough food for the two of us for the whole summer. Because I can just keep spinning up more kale. I want to do sweet potatoes too, but I don't think I have any of those. But I'm just going to keep spinning up kale. I'm going to spin up a ton of corn. Tons of, like, as many cucumbers as I can possibly do. Peppers, but I'm struggling. Peppers are a real struggle for me. I don't quite get those yet. Onions, potatoes, tomatoes. I'm spinning up. Well, no, my wife did 2, 3, 5 tomato plants. Yeah. Okra. Which that's not, I don't know if that's really a nutrient dense food. I just think okra tastes freaking amazing. We're just gonna go for it. You get like a bag, or you get like 2 bags of groceries, and that's like $200, man. It's unreal. So a lot of stuff we can do with the corn. Yeah. What else? There's a bunch of things in there, like zucchini, because like I love zucchini bread, and zucchini gets huge. So I'm trying to do like 6 zucchini, and like I said, the zucchini are already out of control. We're trying to do 2 different types of watermelons. No, 3 different types of watermelons. Eggplants, I think we're trying to do eggplants. Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be like a different thing in each tote. It's gonna be like kind of going to the grocery store. So I'm excited. And part of this is like, you know, me like talking the talk, you know. This isn't gonna be like my shit talking rant portion, but I want to bring this up because it bugs me. Most of the prepper books on Amazon are absolutely fake. In regards to the people that wrote them are not the same people that are on the title. They're a bunch of consultants that write these things like by committee. Most of these things in these books you can't do and they can't do. And it's just fake. Like, I wrote the bunker codes with all that stuff because I've actually done it all. Like, those are things that I did first to make sure that they were actually going to work. And you can say, well, you use consultants too because there's YouTube videos in there, and you say you got the idea from this person or that person. Well, yeah, because I wrote my way down, and they're like, hey, do this way, try this way works, this way works. You know, they wanted to add all their tribal knowledge in there. That's different from hiring a bunch of consultants to shadow write a book for you. So I'm not putting all this seedling. Well, I want to write another bunker codes. I really do. But if I write a seedling gardening section, it is going to be like very generic and high level. And unless you can build a greenhouse and shit hits the fan, I don't know how you would garden in a bunker without grow lights and a lot of dirt, unless you're going to get into like crazy aquaponics or people that have these crazy like tiered systems where they have like tiered strawberries and tiered potatoes and stuff for these kind of like little micro gardens, you still have to have like so much fertilizer. And people go, oh, well, just use chicken. Well, just use cows, though. And as shit as the fan, if you're in a bunker in the middle of nowhere, you don't magically have a chicken. There aren't, like, chicken seeds that you can go plant your chicken. Like, people that say that stuff just need to shut the fuck up. Like, if you're gonna, like, micro garden, like, with, aquaponics, like I think you need a lot of liquid fertilizer to do that. So unless your bunker has a giant aquaponics thing, like I have seen systems like that where they're the huge like fish tanks and they go around and they have the full ecosystem where they have the is it kale? No, it's whatever. Something that grows in the water that they can eat. I think I can't remember, but you know, then they have the fish in there, and everything creates like this big ecosystem. Like, dude, if you've got one of those in your bunker, like, great. And if it's managed to keep itself going, like, that would be cool to put in the bunker codes. But like bunker codes 2, or I forgot what I was gonna call the second bunker codes, but that would just be like insane. It's more likely you're going to find a radio and not know what to do with it. So, yeah. I don't know. I have a lot of ideas for a second bunker codes. But part of me has to still reconcile, like, if I want to put more stuff in the first bunker codes, and then extra things went into the collector's edition hardbound. So like maybe I just put it in the hardbound, but yeah, I ended up not selling any copies of that, which is kind of a bummer because that was a really dope book. Maybe I did. Maybe I sold 1 or 2 copies. I don't remember. But yeah, I want to start another bunker codes. I think I have some topics listed somewhere. So yeah, some high level gardening stuff going there. But even like in a bunker, like, what's the likelihood that you're gonna find some heating mats or some way to heat stuff up enough to get the seeds to sprout? Unless it's just like really warm in your bunker. Like, they've got to be at like 75, 80 degrees to sprout, unless your bunker's just hot as balls. In which case it's going to be like crazy humid. And then you're going to have to find, you know, dirt and fertilizer and stuff still. Like, it's just a big stretch. Like, how you're going to find unless you're like by a beach and can go get shells, like how you're going to find like the phosphates that you need. I don't know. Otherwise, you'll end up with a bunch of plants that are all leaves and no fruit, which is something I learned recently. I'm like, holy shit. Or learn about your positive and negative pHs and retest your soil over and over again and work your soil's like pH over and over and over again. Like, yeah, you might have a bunch of soil testers in your bunker, but if you don't have the right fertilizers to bring it to where you need it, and people don't even seem to be able to agree, like, if coffee grounds really have enough acidity to I don't know. A lot of the things that I grew up learning maybe seem to be urban legends. I have no idea. Whereas like some of it's really legit, but how are you gonna find if you need to lower the acidity? If you can't find anything to do that, it just doesn't do you any good. I have no idea how you'd really reconcile or garden in a bunker, and I think I can't remember if I wrote it into the bunker codes, but it was something like just try to find the things that are naturally growing there and then work your way backwards, because that's all I would do. Like, oh cool, blackberries, well, blackberries grow here. And foraging with one of those phone apps is a joke. They all require internet access, and they are such dog shit at properly identifying stuff. You've got to get 2 or 3 plant books that have really good illustrations, and even then, have somebody you don't like try it first, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, I'm rambling. It's late and I'm at time, and I doubt anybody listened to this gardening part, but I'm proud. I'm looking at plants around the house that aren't dead, and I'm proud. It took getting some dirt that was... They lied twice about the prices, but I gotta say, like, if you're gonna transplant stuff, if you're gonna plant stuff from seeds, you have to get really, really good potting, planting, seedling dirt from the store. They're going to gouge you. They're going to lie about the pricing. They're going to charge whatever they can charge. But, and buy 2 bags, because you'll need the first bag to kind of get them started. And then the second bag, or not, you'll be into your second bag by the time you're putting everything into their bigger cups that they need to go into, until you can get them in the ground. Because you don't want to do months and months of work to have some freak frost come wipe them all out in the middle of April or May. And that means you've got to watch your temperatures like crazy. It was July, August, something like that. And it was still dipping down into like 50 degrees at night. Like, what the hell? How is it like 90 during the day and dipping down to like 50 at night in July and August? It doesn't even getting into like weatherizing them, running a fan for them, bringing them out on an overcast day so they can get used to it. It's a whole deal. Like, this is a lot, and you've got to make a lot of food for 2 people. And everyone's, just get chickens. And I don't have time for that. I don't have the time or the energy, and then that's another thing that I just have to like guard 24/7. The people that used to live here had a massive chicken coop. And during the day, I can see right where it used to be outside my window, so no doubt they used to sit here and like watch their chicken coop. But these ding-dongs tore almost everything out when they sold this place. Or the people before them tore everything out. So there was a huge chicken coop there, and it would have been no problem to get a couple chickens. No freaking problem. It was a huge chicken coop. But no, I don't have the time or the energy. Oh, it's easy. Well, come do it then. It's so easy. I've not made money or time or energy, and just, I don't know. I'm really bummed if I'm not going to be able to save a lot of these trees. When I was wrapping them all up the other day and freezing ass cold rain, I noticed almost all of them were chewed up, and that really bummed me out. It really bummed me out. And the one that I had like fully enclosed, I kind of poked my head in there and looked, and that one was chewed up too. And I'm like, shit. Almost every single one of them was either chewed up or split up from the deer like rubbing their antlers on them. And I'm just like, motherfucker. There is a giant forest, and the stupid deer were rubbing their antlers on these teeny tiny trees. I'm just like, God. And the people that sold this place, like, it's weird. Like, I noticed that they were putting one of the trees back together because one of the trees has a shoot, or what are they called? A graft, where they like taped the graft back on, and that tree was thrashed. And they didn't seal it up after they wrapped the graft back on. And so I sprayed the hell out of it with the pruning seal, which you're kind of not supposed to do when it's just raining, but it never stops here, so I just don't prune the top ones. I mean, I don't seal the top prunes if it's raining. But that reminds me, I broke my pruners. Broke my small pruners. But oh yeah, and so my wife asked me, well, nobody's listening to this, but I want to do like some kind of a fundraiser or something for more trees and for a proper greenhouse. So the coffee page seems like kind of dead, but I'll ask on the coffee page and see. I think a lot of people are busy on their own stuff, which is whatever. I mean, you know, maybe when spring officially starts, you know, maybe there will be a garden center somewhere that doesn't have trees that cost a fortune, you know. But right now the trees are like 40, 60, 80 bucks a piece, and that's not going to happen. But if we can find some like affordable trees, I wouldn't feel as bad letting these go. And if I put new ones there, it wouldn't bug me as much. But I know 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 of them are pretty rough. But they're all 5. But they all have like half that are fighting to come back. So I know I've saved 5 of them. They're just going to be really rough shape. So I got to fertilize them. So yeah, and what the deer were doing is they were eating off the shoots, the grafts. They were eating off the grafts. And so part of what my friend said made sense now. The sprouts that come up from the bottom don't have the grafts. So they're going to be like whatever the original tree was. And I think sometimes they use like non-producing trees and put grafts on them. I don't know how the hell that works. So if it was like a non-producing and they grafted a bunch of producings onto it, well, the deer on at least 3 of the trees ate almost all of, if not all of the grafts off, and then just started chewing them down to the roots. Oh, it just really bugs me. So some of them are going to come back up from the bottom, and they're just going to be whatever the original was. If there's a lot of energy in that root ball, they're going to come back really strong. But whatever these little things are, they go and eat those shoots that come up from the ground also. It's just like, I was telling my friend, like, I don't know how anything ever grew in the Pacific Northwest with how much little shit critters eat everything to death. And it just makes me really wonder how fragged up the ecosystem is. If I can't even plant a couple trees, like, you know, you think of Johnny Appleseed or whatever, it's like, do you really have to just plant hundreds of thousands of trees for these little bastards to not come eat them all down to the root ball? Oh, it's just so frustrating. Anyway, I know I lament on that a lot, but it's watching just so much money and effort and time just get destroyed in seconds. And when we lost our last house, we had to leave a cherry tree behind that was doing really, really, really good. So we should have planted these trees 20 years ago. We should have been here 20 years ago and planting these trees 20 years ago. It bugs me. It's hard. It's hard to get over, right? Like how short on time we really are, how little of time we're really on this planet, and then if there's going to be anyone around for you to leave all this stuff to. I know. Alright, I'll move. Yeah. So, makes me think of my dad's place. You know, he had 12, 15 massive producing cherry and apple trees, and 6, 8 just like massive blueberry bushes. Like, jeez. He could produce enough apples to feed people year round easily. You could have eaten an apple pie a day for the whole year. Giant rhubarb. Massively, you know, like dinosaur sized like rhubarb and stuff. And it's just like, I get it, that area wasn't safe anymore. But like, you can't put a price on like a producing apple tree. Does that make sense? Like, you can't put a price on a big producing blueberry bush or huckleberry bush. And like, I remember when I was a kid, I don't remember where it was, but there was these huckleberry bushes that were bigger than imagination. And you know how tiny like wild huckleberries are, and they'd be in the forest and stuff, and if the bears didn't get them, you could, I mean, it took all day, but you could pick enough blueberries to, or not blueberries, huckleberries to make huckleberry pie, huckleberry pancakes. Like, dude, it was insane. And to just like let that stuff go, or have, yeah, in fact, in my dad's house, he had like transplanted one of those huckleberry bushes, and it was growing under the cherry tree. And it's just like, just gutted. Like, those are priceless. Like a 30-year-old blueberry bush, or like, you know, even like a 5 or 10-year-old cherry tree. Those things are just like priceless. Like, me and my brother both had a cherry tree that was like planted the year we were born. And, you know, it took our entire child lives for the damn things to get big enough to actually do anything. But then, like, then you're getting enough cherries to make whatever you want for like the whole year. Like, it's insane. Grapes are the same way. And it's just like, I don't get it. Those things are worth like more than money. And I don't get it. And I wish that I had like a legacy. Like I wish things were even going to be around that long. With just how bad things are going to get, like it's frustrating. Like you really look around you and everybody should be doing this. I just want to scream at the top of my lungs, like, why isn't everybody planting as many trees as they can? Why isn't everybody doing just as much of a garden as they can? Like, I don't like jarring and canning and stuff. And a lot of it seems like a money sink. Almost like an MLM. But like once you've got the jars and can take care of the jars, you're good. You know, that's half the battle. You just need pectin and lids. And you know, as a kid, like we had all that. My dad had tons and tons and tons and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of jars. And we just never... You're stupid. You don't think as a kid, like, these jars will last forever if you take care of them. You don't see the value. And now, when the Rona was bad, it's like, good luck finding jars. At all. Good luck finding lids at all. Anyway, this has gone on way too long. I don't think anyone's listening to this shit, but maybe eventually if I say all this stuff enough times, it'll stop bugging me. It's kind of getting me... It's getting me through, right? It's getting me through to the point to where the weather will turn, I'll have enough time, money, energy, something, or the sun will come out and bring all these back, and it'll be a distant memory. Sometimes trees heal, you know, or they could all end up with friggin' aphids, and it'll just be friggin' aphids. I don't know. And then I'll be squirting neem oil on everything. I know. But it's gonna be 10 years before these trees are big enough. But the tiny little rats or voles or whatever the hell it is that chews these things up, those things can ruin even a really big tree. I need to attract... I can hear an owl like really far away. I just need to like attract that owl and see if that owl will bring another owl. There's already a hawk that flies around, and I just hope that those predators can do their job. Anyway, I'm gonna go, and these are just the things on my heart, and it helps me to let all this go and hope somehow the universe reconciles itself somehow. So I'll talk to y'all later, and check out my books. Check out my books. Talk to y'all later. Bye. Now you bye. Goodbye. Yep.